viewers, we're back again after quite a long while not doing many videos. It's raining cats and dogs outside, so it'll be a little bit noisy in here. As you can see, we've painted all the frame, had numerous coats. We've now sort of protected the edges where we slipped it in. I had taken, as it was before, taken the head off the motor. We've positioned it in a way of it going down, and we managed to slip the frame in sideways with a bit of twisting up and down. And this rod here that goes across here, the stay, goes up into these into here, which have cat bolts that go over the top of them, and they select that. At the front there's a bolt right at the front here that goes through. We'll do that shortly. And on the head, when the head goes on, we will put bolts on with a stay that goes down onto, I think, these back head bolts. Now, as you can see, there's a head gasket here. Now that head gasket later on we'll take out and heat up and anneal, so it's nice and soft, so we can retorque the head. But we're getting to quite a crucial stage now where we can start doing assembling. It's been a long wait, but we are getting there. So I'll crack on and try and get this frame attached to the engine in this position and in here. So we'll stop now and I'll come back and show you that. Right, now we have put the swing arm on. There's a swing arm spindle axle straight through here with the encapsulating mounting bolts for the engine underneath, which the engine and the swing arm are attached to, in this instance with this bracket that comes back up onto the spine of the frame. On that also is the main linkage that sticks out, which takes the shock from the swing arm at this point here up to here, and from this point up to here is where the shock absorber goes. So it's quite a simple arrangement. So I put new bolts on here, cap screws with Nylex nuts here and here through, all greased up. I've put grease nipples here, under here, and right at the back on that one there. Pretty hard to get to that one, but you have to move it around. So our next move is to have a look at all the auxiliary little bits, probably that they're hard to get at now, presumably like the brake that type of thing. So we'll move that on to the next video. Okay, we've made some progress in the last hour or so. We've done a number of things. We've put the side stand on, and that was a little bit of a problem, but not too bad, because we forgot the rubber stop that goes on here, that goes over the pin, and then the spring goes over that and it retains it all in there. It's a Fantic item. It's very good because it's nice action. The spring, we had a little bit of fun and games with that. We had to get it so it just goes past this Nylex nut. On this side here, we've put a button bolt. So that's come out really good. We're really happy with that. We've put our lowering back and down brackets on. These have got button bolts on because when your boot is sitting here, they're nice and round. They're not square like a square nut on there. With Nylex nuts on top and bottom, and the S3 hard rock pegs. Look at that for action. It's very nice. And we've placed those slightly in, and so your feet are just so your knees are in on the bike, just slightly. What else have we done? We put the chain guard on. We put the chain tensioner on. Now that was a bit of fun and games because of the bracket here that holds the foot peg on was very, very close. Previously to that, it was a stud that went through there with a circlip on it, which was, after a while, it could fall off and you could lose all this and it could get all mangled up in the chain. So we changed that. We drove the old bush out of here and we put a new bush, two new bushes in. I think they were 12 by 10 bushes, about 20 mil long, about 40 mil across there. So we put two of those in there and put a galvanised bolt in there, welded up to the side, and a galvanised nut. We had to take make it fit so it didn't hit the swing arm here, but we managed to do that and that's worked out fine. The other thing we did, we've put the brake pedal in. That's a little spline down here with a nut on it, so it's a cable operated one. So it looks like everything's perfect. We think when we get the wheel on we'll find out where the brakes are. We've got a fair bit of adjustment in here we can do, but that's the optimum position here for your boot. As your boot sits on here, you just swing your foot around and it touches onto the brake pedal. So that's what we've done there. There's a few other things to do. We've got the new shock absorber that we got. That's got to go in there and be connected here, which we'll do that later on. So that's basically that end. There's a few other things. If you look in carefully in here, we've got the clutch mechanism. This one's got a it looks like someone's taken it out and put a extra length on it to give a bit more leverage. So we've got to put that cable in. We might as well get that in now while it's easy to get your hands in here before the airbox goes on. We decided that we will drain the oil out of this. It's never been drained out in the gearbox, so we'll do that before we put the sump underneath. That's one of the other jobs to do. We're pretty close now to being able to anneal the gasket for the head gasket and put the head on and torque that down. There's just little bitty bits we just work our way through. So that's all for now, and we'll come back later. Hello again. Well, we're up to the stage now of putting the steering heads back on. The top one here, where the handlebars go, they're here, and the bottom that clamps for the front shock absorbers. These are notoriously hard to get off if you want to replace them. You have to actually destroy them to get them off. This one I don't believe's had the proper seal put on it, but it looks like there's a bit of a land in here, and when we took it off there was an O-ring on here, so we'll put that O-ring back on, and hopefully that will stop any grease from coming out. So there it is in there. It will jam up into the land like that. In fact, the land is not even, the race is not even in there at the moment. I've got to jam that in there. The top one is, so we're going to do that. They've got to be all greased up with, I use waterproof grease. You can use marine waterproof, it's the same, it just hasn't got the word marine on it, that's all. An important thing to do also is just put a little bit of anti-seize on these nuts, or these bolts that go into here. I like to do that just so they're easy to get out, they don't corrode up. We've got to grease these bearings up, and there's a special way you grease bearings up. Put a dab of grease in your palm of your hand here like this. Push the grease on like that. Push, and you'll see it go in there. And then when it comes out this here, you know that you've got it. So that's it. You just go round and round like that. Bit hard to do this one because it's already on there. You just have to put as much as you can on. So that's the next thing. We'll show you it later on when it's all together. Okay then. So from the last section, we've managed now to put the forks at the front with the tapered bearings in here, grease them all up. We've got these socks on here because our nameplate will go across here so it doesn't touch the chrome. So everything's organised there. We're ready to put the wheel on the front. In the meantime, we've been putting the exhaust on with the springs here. We've made a couple of alterations, put some little button bolts on here and in here. The exhaust going through. This end muffler fits inside this one. So we put a bit of water pipe on that, heater hose on there. On the other side, we've got now attached the airbox here with the carburetor attached to the manifold, and here we've now got a newer cable for the throttle. Make sure all that's working. The other thing we've done, we torqued down the head. We annealed the head gasket, and we torqued these down, these 4 studs here, to 35 newtons. They're unusual setup here. That this bracket here has got studs sticking out of the head, they go right through into the block, come right through the cylinder, and they've got little standoff here's to take this bracket, which gives it extra support. So the frame actually supports the engine at this point here, this point under here, right through the centre at the swing axle here. There is a little bone of contention I heard about at the back here. These brackets that hold this engine on are very similar to these that hold handlebars on, and they're held on with clamps. Now they have been apparently known to break here, which is a bit disconcerting, but we'll see how that goes. So at the back here we've got the back flap that just protects the linkages from a bit of mud. So wheel here. That's about it really. We've got to put the wheels on, and we'll jump on it and see what it's like for suspension. Okay. Okay, we're back again. We've done a bit of a rough assembly, getting things in the sort of reasonable sort of area where we like to have things. We've just put the tank on here so that we can get the cables, the clutch, the brake, throttle cable in their nice positions in behind the tank here. It's quite crowded and you have to play around with a lot of plastic ties. We've got the airbox on, carburetor on, just little things to finish off yet. We've got the gear stick over here. We've got on this side. We've got the kickstart. The brake hasn't been attached yet. So I'll just take this tank off and show you a couple of things that we've. So this is the electronics for the bike, attached to 2 bolts here. Make sure you've got a good earth on here. Getting this stuff laid down here is quite important. There is a little bit of a pocket on in here where this electronics lay, so sometimes you can get in there, but you've got to try and get everything just nice so it doesn't pull on the too much cables. My stops that were put on here are working good. We've decided not to put adjustable ones on. We've gone to a single rod welded on, and they work excellent both ways. This bike's got upgraded brake caliper and master cylinder here. With the disc is away getting machined. It's a bit grubby and need a little bit of machining on both faces and clean up. The stay has just been painted over behind me here now, so that'll go on later on. What else? We've managed to put the carburetor into place here, get all the Jubilee clips all tightened up, and throttle cable running up really nice. So that's about it really, and we'll come back with another video showing mudguards, tent finished, brake on, mudguard on, and brake with the chain on, I think all those little accessory bits and pieces. There is one thing that if we can show you, I'll just go and get the spring. This was the spring that came with the shock absorber from China. It goes around that way, and after my first concern was that the spring being only 6mm compared to the 11mm spring of the Fantic spring wasn't going to be sufficient. We had to buy it anyway because that's all they came with, so we decided we'll go with it. So we put it on. The bike was too low, and it was just, even if we adjusted it right down, compressed it right down, the bike frame was just too low down. So we decided to say, let's take the spring off and put the Fantic spring onto the shock absorber. It seems to have worked well, and there is quite a lot of dampening. I may in the future, if we have a look at this spring here, this is quite a tightly wound spring, but not at the bottom like this one. We may find that it's just lifted the bike a little bit too high. Now that may be due to the fact that it's just for the length of the spring, we might have to take one coil off. So I'll probably take it into the spring manufacturer and get them to chop it off and clean up the ends so they're flat. But first of all, we'll put it on there, get the bike out there and ride over some terrain and see what it's like. That's the obvious thing to see. If it doesn't need doing, it doesn't need doing. If it does, it does. So we just see how it goes. So that's about it for this part of that video. I'll see you next time. Bye now.